Hey guys, so I am way behind on all of this. Uh, so this is actually Mike Tomlin's press conference from our Week 8 game versus the Packers. I am so far behind on this, and there is a reason for that. So I'm just going to stand up quick. This is Ollie. Ollie is our 11-week-old Boston Terrier Maltese mix puppy. He has taken up a lot of our time. So videos have been a little stagnant, I guess. I have all these I have to record for the Kyle Duggar trade. I have to record for signing MVS to the practice squad. There was another couple moves. Like, there's a lot of stuff I gotta do. So, just be ready over the next couple of days, I would say, for all of these videos to be coming out. So, like I said, he is only an 11-week-old puppy. So, for anyone that has had a dog or cat, at that age, you would know that they need lots of attention, because at his age he is going from puppy teeth to adult dog teeth, the ones he's going to have for the rest of his life. And he chews a lot of stuff, whether he's supposed to or not. We have plenty of chew toys for him, and he's falling asleep. So he takes lots of naps. He does. So I'll try to get stuff done maybe while he's napping. But he definitely requires our attention, just to make sure he doesn't get into anything, make sure he doesn't have accidents in the house, because he is still, being this young, we're still trying to potty train him. So I'll try to keep up with videos as much as I can. I've also been just behind on listening to the other stuff that I listen to while I'm at work. So I've been catching up on that as well. But let's see what Tomlin had to say after the Week 8 loss to the Green Bay Packers.
Congratulations to the Green Bay Packers on a victorious performance. From us, we just simply got to get a lot better in a lot of areas, in all areas, but some really specific areas that are critical to winning. We can't settle for field goals versus good people, and that was kind of an issue throughout. We got behind the chains some once we got in the scoring territory, be it a penalty or a lost yardage play on first down, and it was uphill from there, and we settled for field goals too often. And you're just not going to win close ball games, man, when you're doing that. Thought we were highly penalized for the second week in a row. It hadn't been us, but it is us, and so we certainly got to address that, and we will. And then we're not winning enough possession downs on defense. We're simply not. I thought the 2 third-down conversions in the third quarter, field-flipping type plays, were significant plays. They were catalysts for drive engineering, the 2 touchdown drives or whatever in the third quarter. I thought we had them in, advantageous third down circumstances for us, man, and they converted. Not only did they convert, but they had chunk plays, and, you're not going to win football games like that. And so we got a big game coming up here in a short period of time. We got to get in and look at this, man, and make the necessary adjustments and alterations to what it is that we're doing in the effort to change the outcome of this thing. From a health standpoint, man, it looks like we got a couple of significant ones. Daniel has got a significant knee injury. Deshaun Elliott's got a knee injury as well. Isaac Seumalo's got a pec strain, and so it's what comes with playing, obviously. We'll assess those. I have a better update for you the next time we come together. Questions?
Where was Love hurting you in second half?
I thought their tight end obviously was significant, man. His run after, we talked about it during the week. We didn't do a good enough job of minimizing that. And that probably was the catalyst of it. That field flipping play on third down, we laid the ball up to him. He made a catch and run. I thought was a significant component of the texture of the second half.
Like yourselves on offense, where could you have been better on the third downs tonight?
I thought we got behind the chains, and when you get behind the chains, man, you're not in an advantageous circumstance. There's a challenge with their rush and some of the rush people that they have. You got to protect it. You got to go downfield, and that was challenging. The best course of action is to stay on schedule, and we weren't on schedule enough, particularly in the second half.
Mike, the defensive problems that you've had repeatedly, is it rooted in the scheme or in the execution of the scheme?
We all have to own it. Certainly you start with the schematics, man, because, that's the leadership component of it. And certainly we'll be looking at everything that we're doing, man, because some of these problems are somewhat repetitive and we're not getting better fast enough.
Mike, what's missing in the execution?
Again, I'm not going to talk too much tonight. We'll take a look at it. As I mentioned, they made some significant plays on possession down ball. And, you got to get off on third down. And we didn't do it well enough. And particularly in the third quarter, there were some significant ones.
So like the second week in a row, you gave up a bunch of easy completions. It was the slants against Cincinnati. Somebody was more the flats. Is that a case of you try to fix something and then something else pops up against you?
I'm not worried about the flat throws. The flat throws didn't produce 300-plus yards passing. It's those chunk plays.
Mike, you guys assembled this secondary with the hopes to use several different coverages, man, zone, different things, but between miscommunications and losing it, man, what do you guys have to do better to get the potential that you saw?
We just got to be better in all areas, and it starts first with the positions that we put players in. And so, as coaches, as players, as all of us, we own it. We'll be better. We have to be.
You guys came out and were winning third down a lot early on in this game, and then things flipped. What do you think led to the collective breakdown there?
As I mentioned, those third downs in the third quarter that I outlined in my opening statement. I could repeat it for you if you want.
I just got it.
Anyone else?
Mike, did you get an explanation on the offsides call that wasn't called?
It's irrelevant because you can't get it back. I thought it was an error, but you can't get it back. Explanations mean very little.
Mike, would you consider a change in the secondary at all?
I'm open to doing whatever it is that we need to do schematically or from a personnel standpoint to improve this, certainly.
What's your reaction to two post-play personal fouls in the second half?
It's not our style of business, and we can't live like that.
Mike, what do you guys have to do to get the pass rush home more often in key games?
I'll take a look at it. I just don't have a knee-jerk response to that question specifically because very rarely do these things happen in a vacuum. It's all somewhat interrelated.
Coach, you're averaging almost 5 yards a carry in the first half, had that 9-point lead with getting the ball. What was the decision kind of lean away from the run with only 3 carries in the second half?
It wasn't necessarily a decision to do so. We just were behind the sticks and the game circumstances got away from us.
Is there anything Green Bay did differently first half versus the second half?
With respect to them, man, they won the game, but our issues are us. That's just the approach and mentality that we have. We own the outcome of our performances, and there's certainly a lot of things that we could do better, not taking anything away from Green Bay.
When you give up 100 and some yards of yak to a tight end, is that indicative of issues rallying to the ball, tackling downfield, things like that?
It would appear so, but as we mentioned at the top of the week, man, I thought this guy was an elite run-after guy. I told you guys that on Tuesday, and he proved that.
What was your message to the team in the locker room after the ball?
I said, man, it's not a lot to talk about. We got to get better, and we got to get better in a hurry. And so we say very little when we win. We say less when we lose. It's all about getting back in the lab and getting better.
Anyone else? All right.
Thanks.
I'm going to go into this without, or at least try to go into this, without the knowledge of the Colts game, right? Like, essentially, I'm recording this last week before the game happened. So, as far as the Packers game, right? Steelers were up 16-7, and going into halftime. And they were actually leading at the end of the third quarter. It was literally right at the beginning of the fourth quarter that the Packers scored and took the lead. So the Steelers led for a large portion of this game. Like, they had it. And the guy asked, like, hey, 5 yards of carry, why aren't you running it? Like, I feel like I'm Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side, where I'm like, run the dang ball. Run it. Like, come on, it's working. Like, forget passing the ball. The run game is working. And if it works and, you get into a scenario where, hey, you got 8 yards on this play, it's 2nd and 2. Uncork one. Try to go to DK deep or something. Like, let the run game, if it's working, let it work. So, whether it was Mike or Art, or if it was Aaron, whoever it was out of those three, our head coach, our offensive coordinator, and our quarterback, whoever it was that was like, we're going to start passing. And I know Tomlin said, well, it's situational when you're behind the sticks. But, like, you start a drive at 1st and 10, not 1st and 15 behind the sticks already. Like, run it on 1st, Like, what does it hurt? Because if you're averaging 5 a carry and you run it on 1st, okay, you got 2 yards. It's 2nd and 8. But if you get those 5, just get your average. And it's 2nd and 5, that opens up the playbook a lot. You could either run it again and get close for a 3rd and short, or even on 2nd and 5, I could see taking a shot 15, 20 yards down the field, right? So, like, it's there. It is. And for some reason, we went away from it. Congrats to Roman Wilson on getting his first touchdown of his career. Trying to think what else. I think it was versus I'm trying to think if it was versus the Bengals or the Packers. I think it was versus the Bengals that Roman had like that really big catch in like the first quarter. But like, this is 2 games in a row where we went up at half. Or no, that's the Colts game. Or 2 games in a row where we were up and the other team made the comeback. Like, the Bengals made their comeback in the 2nd quarter and the Packers did it in the 4th. Like, and also, something that I wasn't aware of was that you can actually break down scoring, not by game, not like a points per game. That I was aware of. You actually could break it down by quarter, which is interesting. I never really thought of doing that, right? And you put the average points scored per quarter, or points allowed per quarter, scored by the opponent, right? And the Steelers in the first 3 quarters are actually fine. Like, they're not great, like, top of the league, but they're nowhere near the bottom. And then you get to the 4th quarter. Dead last. The Steelers are allowing, up through the Packers game, just a reminder, I'm trying to do this without the Colts game in mind. So, the Steelers are allowing the most points in the 4th quarter in the entire NFL. And that is just not a good recipe. It's not. And Ben Roethlisberger does his podcast or his show, Footballin', each week after the Steelers game. And he talked about how when he was playing, the adjustments that they would make at half. And even after Ben, Like, the Steelers would start slow, and I'm talking like Kenny, Mitch, Mason, Justin, Russ. I'm talking about everyone we've had since Ben. Before Aaron. Right in between the two. Like, it was slow start in the beginning, and then they were like the best third quarter team in the entire NFL, and they would have a good fourth, and they'd, either it'd be a close game or they'd come back and win. And this year, it's been the opposite, where we've started fast, and then we come out in the second half, and we suck. Right? So, it's really interesting how it's flipped. How we've gone from great halftime adjustments to, even after Ben, to what's going on. Are we making the wrong adjustments? Like, what is happening at halftime that we're seeing this happen? Are we making the wrong adjustments? Are we making the correct adjustments, but we're still not executing properly? Because that's the thing. You can blame coaches all you want. If you have the greatest coaches that have ever lived, but they're playing with peewee football players, like Pop Warner, whatever you want to call it, they're not going to do shit. And if you get the best players that have ever existed, and you give them coaches that, would fail at Madden on the easiest of modes, so rookie mode or whatever, they couldn't coach themselves out of a paper bag. Like, if you gave them that, they're not going to play to their full potential. Not to say that they won't have success, but they're not going to play to their full potential, right? So there's something wrong with what's happening. And, for years, I have seen people call for Mike Tomlin to be fired. And I've said, no, you do not fire Mike Tomlin. If you do not want him to be the coach anymore, you trade Mike Tomlin. You can trade your coaches. Coaches have been traded before. John Gruden was traded as a head coach. Sean Payton was traded from the Saints to the Broncos when the Broncos wanted to hire him to be their head coach. He got traded. So, trading Mike Tomlin would gain you another pick. And, I think Sean Payton went for like a 1. So, could you get a first-round pick for Mike Tomlin? Like, if I told you, you can either fire Mike Tomlin right now, this minute, or you can wait until the season is over. When the season is over, you can trade Mike Tomlin for a first-round pick. Which one are you taking? And I'm not telling you if it's the first pick overall or the 32nd pick overall in the first round. It's a first-round pick. You would probably say, yeah, I'll deal with him for another half a season. And I know the Steelers have only had 3 coaches over the last 50, 55 years, whatever. But I do think there is a little bit of, I don't know if it's a fantasy or an assumption, but people are just we're going to get rid of Mike Tomlin, we're going to hire another coach, and we're going to have success. And that's not guaranteed. We could trade Mike Tomlin to, I'm going to pick someone that's going to be middle of the first round, roughly, as far as a draft pick. Cowboys. They fire Brian Schottenheimer, and we trade them Mike Tomlin. They're someone that's a borderline playoff team. but probably won't make it. So we trade Mike Tomlin to the Dallas Cowboys for their first round pick. And we'll say theirs, not the one they got from Green Bay for the Micah Parsons trade. Because they just sent their first round pick in 27 in the Quinnen Williams trade. So, okay. So Mike Tomlin is gone. We hire, let's say they decide, you know what? Modern NFL, we need an offensive-minded head coach. Right? Let's just say we need an offensive-minded head coach for today's NFL. We're not going to promote Arthur Smith from within. Arthur Smith will still be the OC. He'll interview for the job, but he'll still be the OC. We are going to hire Sean McVay has a hell of a coaching tree. We're going to go get the Rams offensive coordinator. I don't know who that is right now. But we're going to go get the Rams offensive coordinator. That's who's going to be our new head coach. Couldn't tell you who it is. And we're, the future is bright. We have 2 first-round picks this year. We could go use them to trade up for our franchise quarterback, which, by the way, who knows if that's going to hit anyway. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and 3 years later, that head coach is fired because the Steelers have had 3 losing seasons in a row. We hire a new head coach, and this one's, well, we tried the whole offensive-minded thing. We're going to go to a defensive-minded coach. Robert Saleh. He's a good defensive coordinator. But turns out, even in Pittsburgh, he can't succeed as a head coach. 4 years later, he's fired. Mike Tomlin's still coaching the Dallas Cowboys. He's brought them to 2 NFC championship games, but he hasn't made the Super Bowl. Right? And we're on our 3rd head coach since Mike Tomlin. It's another offensive-minded guy. We're going to try it again. And maybe this guy works. Maybe. I think people just assume it's going to work. And obviously, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's the definition of insanity. And some fans may say, we are that right now. We just keep doing the whole 10-7. I know people say, we're just going to go 9-8 again. 9-8, 9-8, 9-8. First of all, we've gone 9-8 one time. Right? So if you're going to complain, just say 10-7. We've gone that twice. So say 10-7. So it's like, well, we're just going to go 10-7 again. Okay, but at least that gives you a chance, right? But even me, and I've been a huge defender of Mike, where it's like, guys, he's a good head coach. He is. Even I'm like, God, what the hell can we do? What change needs to be made? Does Mike Tomlin need to go? And even then, like I said, you trade him. You do not fire him. You trade him. But does he need to go? Right? Or does he need to be... if you're not doing this as a head coach, what are you doing? He doesn't call any plays, as far as play calling. He may say, hey, find a run play here to Arthur, or hey, find a good blitz on this 3rd down to TA. But he's not calling the plays, right? So does he... But let's say it's his defensive scheme, right? Let's say it's his defensive scheme. Does he need to be completely hands-off? It's not your defensive scheme anymore. TA's fired, and we're bringing in, Coach X, who was the linebacker coach for this team in the NFC. He was this NFC team's linebacker coach. And we're bringing him in to be our defensive coordinator, and he's going to run his scheme. He's not going to run Mike's. Hypothetical. Does that need to happen? Or if he comes in and he runs Mike's scheme, is he going to fail? Or is he going to succeed with the scheme and TA just can't call plays? Could the scheme be good, but TA is just not a good play caller? There's 500 different possibilities of what is wrong, and another 500 on how can these things be fixed, right? So it's annoying, it's irritating, it's agonizing, it's infuriating. I could keep going, but even myself, who's been a big defender of Tomlin, I'm getting tired of it. Where we just can't seem to beat the top tier teams on a consistent basis. Not to say we can't, but we're just not doing it consistently enough. And, is it Tomlin that's being conservative in some situations when he should be aggressive, and then aggressive when he should be conservative? One of my biggest complaints with Mike Tomlin, and actually this might be my biggest, is he'll get into a situation where it's 2nd and 8. The opponent runs a play and they get 2 yards. It's 3rd and 6. Mike Tomlin then calls a timeout, right? And he wants to call the timeout. So then after 3rd down, assuming you stop him and it gets to 4th, you call another timeout and they punt, and it gives you an opportunity to try to go down the field and get points. And what happens, I don't know if it's every time. It feels like every time, but it may not be every time. It just feels like it to me. Is he calls the timeout for 3rd down, and then they get it. They convert it. It happened versus Cleveland. End of the half, they were at 3rd down. He calls the timeout, they convert it, and it gives them a little bit extra time to get closer for the field goal. Now, they still scored a field goal either way. Had he called the timeout or not, it would have been a field goal attempt. But had he not called that timeout, it would have been further back, and maybe they miss it. Now, in this scenario, it didn't cost you the game, but it still allowed Cleveland to put 3 points on the board on a shorter field goal attempt. So it's just even I know, Mike, this doesn't work. Wait until 3rd down is over. If they don't convert on 3rd and it gets to 4th, then call your timeout. And you want to know what? If they decide to go for it on 4th, I can live with that. I would be okay with that. But the fact that you do it every single time, and it feels like every single time it fails, it's just irritating. I would be able to make bank. I would literally bet someone, hey, $50, it could be 3rd and 8, $50 that they get the 1st down here. It's 3rd and 8, yeah, I'll take it. I can make bank on that. I would guarantee it's okay, if they get it, you give me 50. If they don't give it, I'll give you 100. Okay, I'll take that deal. And then they convert it, $50, please. I can guarantee it just about every single time that happens. So, yes, this is definitely irritating. We spent a lot of money on this defense prior to this year. We traded Minka away in order to get Jalen Ramsey, which, seeing how Miami season is going, I'm very sorry, Minka. But it's definitely irritating that they're not playing better. 2 bad games in a row of no turnovers, hardly any sacks. It's annoying, to say the least. And the fact that they have the 30th ranked passing defense or something like that. Like they allow like the 30th most passing yards in a game. And they go off of total yards to rank defenses, which I get to a degree. Technically or generally yards lead to points, but yards alone won't win you the game. You do actually have to put the points on the board. It's Captain Obvious, well, duh. But in terms of yards, which is how, like I said, how they get ranked, they're ranked the 28th defense in the entire NFL. So if anyone says they're the worst, no, they're not. They're not the worst defense in the entire NFL. But when you're paying, a lot of people say paying them the most. I heard somewhere that they're the second highest paid, but it's semantics at that point. Whether you're top or second to top, first or second highest paid, whatever. I'm not going to argue. If it's no, here's the evidence that it's first. Okay, cool, whatever. I'm not going to argue this. But no matter, when you're a top 2 minimum highest paid defense, you should not be 28th. You really shouldn't be. And to a degree, you can't be when you're getting paid that much. So, if you guys did enjoy this, please do leave a like. I will be just cranking out these videos one after another. So, the players will be coming next. And then I'll have his lead up to Indy, and then after Indy, and then his press conference going into the Chargers game. It's going to be fun. So if you guys do enjoy this, please do leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.